So, Victor, there's just 7 of us here. Do you want to start, or do you want us to wait like 10 minutes for more people to join
Mm, Since it's actually been streamed, I don't know. It depends on you if it's fine, but then
Oh.
I'm ready.
Okay, yeah, it is being streamed. So, I think you can start.
Okay.
Yeah. So, good morning, everyone. Well, sorry. Okay. Yes. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar series, today's Library Tracker webinar series, where we'll be discussing data and advocacy, harnessing its potential to foster library development and usage with Victor Ejechi. Now, Victor is a data analyst. He is also, sorry, 1 minute. He's a data analyst, and he also works at the cable network, and he's a librarian as well. Okay, I'm just going to give Victor the floor so he can start. All right, Victor. Yes, to go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I believe you can see my screen. Right? Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Beautiful, beautiful. So thank you so much also Library Aid, and thank you, Dami, for having me on this event. It's going to be okay. Okay, I'm coming. Okay. So it's going to be very impactful, of course, and as well. So I'm trying to put a slideshow here. I think this is perfect. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to be talking about data and advocacy, harnessing its potential to foster library development and usage. The truth is, I'm presently a data analyst at the cable newspaper. I'm also a business journalist, and most importantly, I'm a librarian, because many people will probably want to ask, like, where did I meet? Like, why do I feel like I have the right to do this? I think we've been doing advocacy for right back when I was at the university. I've been doing advocacy, and the truth is, as time goes by, things are changing. It's dynamic in nature, and then there are new things, new development, and new ways to do things to even achieve better results. I've had the opportunity of working with the top hands in librarianship in Nigeria and also in Africa, by extension, the world. I've had the great privilege of working with the US Embassy on library. I've had the opportunity of working with the Nigerian Library Association, of course, that of our own. I've also had the opportunity of working with the German Embassy, among other platforms that I've had the opportunity of working on. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this for you to understand that I know what I'm actually saying as regards to the topic in question. Next, we want to talk about what is library advocacy, because the truth is, this is probably one of those things you'll be taught in school if you're a student, and this is one of those things your library or the director in your library will be asking you that we should do advocacy. In fact, we just ended the library week, if I'm not mistaken. Today ends the library week. And one of the things that the library week is actually meant to achieve is to advocate for the library, is to advocate the importance of the library. Excuse me. If you check years back, I remember then in Benin, Edo State, where I was a member at the point of the Library Association there, the state government wanted to close the library board because they felt like they wanted to use it for something else. Now, a lot of people fought, a lot of people came out and they fought for that. They felt like, no, the government cannot be closing that library and using it for other things. But one thing that came to my mind then is, if I am opening the library, what is the impact of this library to the society? if you want us to build a library in your community, what is the impact? What advocacy are you going to do? Because the truth is, the library has over the years become an NGO, not a profit-making organization. What that means is for every for every non-profit organization, you have to find a way to advocate for what you want. It will not be given to you because it is good. That is what I'm trying to say. The fact that library is important to the human development, to every society, does not mean that the government will give you the library. You need to know that there are scarce resources, and this scarce resources they want to distribute it in the country or to the economy, as it were. Now, you need to fight for your own. You need to know how to canvas for yours so that people can actually give to you, or the government can actually give to you, or whoever wants to give you that will know that there is a level of impact that this is going to deliver to the community. But the truth is, if your library is not adding value, so why should we give you a library? If your library is, the fact that the library is good does not automatically mean that we definitely need to build library. I remember there was a research that we did. I think that was 2017, if I'm not mistaken. We did a research on library and prison in Nigeria. It was conducted by StatiSense. Then I was very much, of course, I'm still very much with StatiSense. It was conducted then, and we did the number of library in a particular state and the number of prison in a particular state. We saw that some state has more prison in the state and they have just one library. Now, one of the correlations we had then was that maybe because of the fact that people weren't reading, then they were giving into crime. But the truth is, who is advocating for this library and who is actually making a better case for this library? So today we're going to talk about how to harness data and to fight your cause. How to tell government that this is important and you must give us this. So that's what we're going to achieve today. And I'm going to try as much as possible to break it down as simple as possible, practical terms, so that we can know what to do from now. I said the library advocacy help libraries secure the fundings and other support they need to continue providing valuable services to their users. As we know, as I said earlier on, it is not a profit-making organization. You're not going there to make money. You're literally looking for a way to serve humanity. And because your cause is good, because you have good intention, does not mean that everybody will like you. Does not mean that millions or billions of naira will be given to you because your cause is good. No, you need to literally fight for it. That is the main reason for advocacy. That if you want to advocate, what are the things that you need to check out for is one of the reasons we have in this conversation. I said library advocacy often involves outreach to local decision makers. Of course, that was one of the things that the Library Week was actually meant to do, was to do organize event rather, to make people understand that this library is important. People get to see that there's even, people get to see who a librarian really is. The truth is that when people look at me, they don't even think that a librarian can look like me. They have a particular mindset of who a librarian should be and who librarians have. For many years before I studied library science, I used to think that the librarian is that person that will always tell me to keep quiet whenever I enter the library, or will always search me when I'm leaving the library to be sure that I did not steal anything. I did not really understand the way impact and how important they are to the society until I started studying the librarianship. I said they involve local decision makers who are motivated by results. Result is the main tool in dealing with advocacy in this age and time. Why should I give you my 1 million naira? Yes, your cause is beautiful, but why should I give you my 1 million naira? So your results is very, very important. I say one of the most active, effective tools for a public library advocate is impact data. Impact data. Now, I use public library because academic library for itself is being funded by the university, the parent body. But the truth is, even the academic library, they need a form of advocacy. They need a form of data, impact data or result. Because I've been opportune to work Also, as a director, of course, I was a director, a head of the library in Enugu. I was African Heritage Institution. It was a research library. I've also had the opportunity of working very close to the librarians or the library in the University of Benin, John Harris Library, University of Benin. So I literally can relate when I talked about that, when I'm saying that academic library also need a form of advocacy, because the fact that the library is a beautiful building, very important for any accreditation of any course in the university, does not mean that the university will literally just be giving you guys what you guys need. If your chairs are having issues, if you need light, you need gen, you need fuel, in the library, there is a form of advocacy, there is a form of result you need to get that the people in high places or the governing council needs to see you that you're important. So it's important. So if you are even a startup, you have an advocacy, you want to talk about your cause, or maybe you're a young librarian and you're fighting you need to get a form of impact data, or I said something here as a quantitative evidence. Quantitative evidence. It is important that I get to know that I gave you 1 million naira. The reason I'm giving you 1 million is because I'm going to better the lives of 100 people. And these 100 people are going to transform from A to B. This is impact. I need to know what and what I'm paying for. So quantitative evidence is not just qualitative. Oh, library is good, it will make them better. No, it will make them better. But when it makes them better, what happened to them? What did they do? These are impact data. These are quantitative. You need to be able to quantify it. I said quantitative evidence of the positive benefit that public library or academic library or library in general services provide to people in that community. So it is very important that we do that. It is very important that we know the impact of our library. We keep this data. I can bet you that in most library, if I'm not mistaken, because the student in academic library, for instance, because the student have cards, I don't think there's a form of registration. There's a form of data keeping in that library. Because how do you want to fight your cause? If I come to your library and ask you on Monday, how many students use your library? And you're telling me 0. On Tuesday, nobody use your library. On Wednesday, nobody use your library. Why should I keep burning fuel when nobody's using the library? But if you tell me that on Monday you kept record about 50 people visited the library, or you tell me that on Tuesday 40 people visited the library, on Wednesday 30 people visited the library, and I will ask you, why is the number reducing? And you will tell me the reason the number is reducing because the AC is not working in this library. And because the AC is not working in this library, students no longer come to the library. That is impact. That is quantitative evidence. As you're telling me that, I cannot give you money, knowing that if I give you money, the number that is 30 on Wednesday might probably increase to 40 on Thursday, and on Friday it will increase to 50. And if care is not taken during the weekend, it will increase to 100. I have added value. My impact, your impact story has made me give you my money. Give you my money. Please, I need an emoji if you know if you're following along. Let me be sure that I'm not just talking to myself. I need an emoji. Just say something, or anybody that is listening. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Okay, good.
Hearing you proper and well.
Yeah, thank you so much. So good. The point I have here, I have advocacy and impact data. Somebody's mic is on. Okay, thank you for that. So good. So advocacy and impact data. So the important link between advocacy and impact data, and by learning how to effectively gather and measure impact data, is that it will greatly improve your advocacy effort. The example I gave you is a beautiful example to show that it will increase your advocacy effort. It will help you to fight your cause. And I want you to also do this if you work in an academic library. And I remember then I worked with the acquisition session in John Harris Library Investor Benin. In acquisition session, how do I tell the library? How do I tell the university librarian that we need to buy more books? in the library. How? But what will I do? I will go to the faculties of this library and ask them, how many people do? See, there's a lot of research that needs to be carried out. And I will tell the university that, hey, we have about 100 students studying pharmacy in this university. And many of them are between this age of this period. Their parental background is that they are not so financially buoyant. And in this particular course, they have been trying to get, if we buy this book, we're going to solve these issues. If we buy, the fact that you have a course does not mean I should just give you money to buy a book. I need to know that if I buy this book, people are going to read it. How many people have come here to read this book? How many people have been reading this book? Is there a need for me to buy more of this particular book because people have been using it? So it is every librarian. I still do advocacy. I still do impact. In my day-to-day job, I need to also talk about, oh, the survey I wrote, how many people read it? How many people were able to interact with it? There are things like that. So if you have this mindset, it will change. It will help you to fight government properly. It will help you to interact with government properly. It will help you to know that you can get fundings outside Nigeria. You can, when you're meeting the government, for instance, the government wants to know impact. The government wants to know that, see, the money they are giving you is going to solve the lives of Nigerians. But if you're telling me, oh, the library is just good, just give me money, it will not work. Librarians in Nigeria needs to know how to fight their cause, and in Africa by extension. So when you go to the negotiating table with the government, with the federal government of Nigeria, about the National Library in Abuja, right? The National Library in Abuja has not been built. The government felt maybe for how many years? So how do you fight your cause when you go there? So if how many persons have been seen, okay, you have a particular office that you use as the National Library. What tangible and evidence do you have to tell me that it has impacted the economy of the country? What has been the value? The fact that you have a library called the National Library that you are using as a pastime. What evidence, what have you achieved in Nigeria with that? Can we stop being emotional when we want to talk about these things and start looking at the fact, the statistics, the data? Oh, Nigerian government, this library house 5,000 people. Nigerian population is over 200 million people. And this library has over so amount of people. The truth is that we need to build library in different states to be able to deal with it, because the National Library cannot be able to get to these people. The government will like, okay, let me hear. The state library will be able to, there's a way to present your case, because government wants to touch the life of the people. And trust me, there's always scarce resources. Of course, in economics, we know that there's always scarce resources. If the government have 1 million naira, you need to fight your cause to get something out of it. If the government is giving education 50% of that money and you're not getting anything, it's because your impact story is not strong enough. It's not because they don't have value. There's a way to sell your story. There's a way to show statistically that people need this or people use this. It's just that we have not, as librarians, we have not been able to, we don't keep documentation. We don't take record of these things anymore. We don't know the number of people that come to our library. We don't even keep details of the people in our library. I'm asking, during the COVID period, I told librarians, I said something. I said, can you go back to your record and take those phone numbers of the people that have been using your library, send them bulk SMS about COVID-19, send them emails about COVID-19 information as a means of passing out information to them. Many of these librarians did not even keep record of their users. They don't have the database of it. If I'm a government official and I come to a particular library and I don't have data to back the existence of that library or why I should keep that library, there's every need for me to want to close it down. So we need to do this. I said something here again. I said today's society is awash with a vast quantum of processed and unprocessed data from various domain and platforms, including call log, of course, online user-generated content, satellite image. This is currently referred to as the big data. There is data everywhere. Your name, the name you wrote down when you go to the library, the phone number you wrote, these are data. People make use of it. People make use of it. The library need to learn to use the information that you provide or your users are providing and advocate for the library. Next slide. I don't know, what's that? Okay, yeah. impact data versus performance data. This is one part I want you all to really pay attention so that you can understand the difference between these two things in practical terms. And I want a situation whereby after now, you should be able to fight your cause. You should be able to go back to your library. No matter the session you are in your library, you can talk to your university librarian or your superior and tell them why they need these things. You should be able to fight your cause, right? In my library, when I was a director, of course, we have a executive director in my library. I wanted the library to be automated at a point. I wanted them to even have paid for JSTOR because they were using JSTOR then. Most of it was a research private library. People pay to use it. So most of my clients or clientele that comes to the library, they told me they needed. I realized that about a lot of persons that kept coming a particular month, they kept asking for JSTOR, and I submitted proposal. And I told my director, for the past how many, I told my executive director, like, for the past how many months, these are the people that are using it, and these are the set of people that are using it, and they are ready to pay for money to it. And guess what? It was used. It was introduced in the library, and people used it. People use it. I have phone numbers of my people that use my library. I have a form. I have a file that I put, and I call them. Good afternoon. I won't be able to come to the library tomorrow, or the library will not be open on Friday. And I give them information beforehand. Sometimes weekends, I send them messages to say, thank you, Bokesme, thank you so much for working with us and all that. These are the way to use, and that is the main reason they kept coming. They kept coming, and I do extra for them. Sometimes I come out and buy drinks for my clientele. And you would think this is a so small thing. These are because that is the passion of a librarian, really. A librarian should be passionate. So I want to talk about impact data and performance data. So impact data is different from performance data, as I said. Performance data, which measure the factors like the number of computers. So performance data is, the library was built, performance in a particular community. The library has computers, performance. The library have classes, performance. There were services provided, performance. In this library, we have AC, performance. Beautiful. The library is very beautiful, performance. But you know what impact data is talking about? Impact data is a difference that those factors have made for the individual. Impact data is talking about the fact that you have a computer. What impact, what effect, what difference has it made to the community? Is it that I built a library in a community that people are computer illiterate? They don't know how to use computer. I built a computer there, right? And then you pick like 10 students. You brought them and started using the library. When they came to start using that library, when they started using that library initially, they don't know how to hold the mouse. They don't know how to on or off a system. But because I provide that library in that community, this set of people now know how to use the computer. They don't know how to move the mouse. That is impact. When you are trying to advocate for more computer in the community, you will say the community has about 50 people that are not computer literate. 10 people came to the library to use the library. Effectively, initially, they could not use the computer. They could not on the computer. But at the end of a particular duration, they were able to use the computer effectively. If we have more computers, we're going to achieve more than 10 people every week. And if we have more computers, we're going to achieve more than that a week. So I'm asking, can you please give us more computers? Do you see what I just did there? Can you please give us more computers? In any senior client, anybody that has the money to give will understand that, if I give this money, why do people sponsor students to university? Why do people say, the best student in this school, I should pay their school fees? Why do government give scholarship to students? It is because of impact. They know that if I give money to this person, it's not going to be a waste. Why did they give money to the worst student? No, it's not going to be a waste. It's going to be utilized properly. So can you tell your story in that form? Instead of just say government are bad, they don't want to give library. Library will save life. Library will do something. Library will impact people. How will we impact the people? The little resources you have, How has it impacted the people? How has it impacted the people over the years? These are the things that government data needs to do. These are the way you should advocate when you're talking. So measure of impact. One way to measure impact data is knowledge and skills. The knowledge, are they improving their knowledge? Do they have more knowledge? Have they gotten better? Their behavior, they behave in a particular way. But because you introduce a particular system in that place, it has changed. That is impact. When I'm talking about, maybe they don't read on the norm. They don't read as often as they used to, but you introduce a library in the community, they started reading, right? Broader social or economic changes. This is very also important. The fact that they got a particular knowledge, this changed the way they behave and their economic perspective, attitudinal or perceptions, quality of life. If I provide a computer in your library, how many people have been able to get a job to become a computer attendant in any reception by that? And the truth is that you need to keep record of these things. You don't think these things are important because sometimes they're only important when you have relationship with the people. Let me give another example. I graduated from the University of Benin as a library student, right? And I like to think, with all humility, I'm an impact story. When I was at the University of Benin, my course was, we were the pioneer set. So I started the 100 level with them. We were the first of the people to study the course in the university. After 1 year, 2 years, the course wasn't accredited. My course was accredited 300 level to 400 level before I left the university, right? Now, if my university, if they want to close down my university, for instance, if they want to close down my course, my university will pick me as an impact story. They will tell whoever wants to close that, they will tell the government that in 2017, a particular guy studied library science and he graduated from the university. After he's graduated, he went on to speak with the UN, he went on to speak with UNESCO, he went on to speak with INAFLA. They will mention these things that I have done as an impact story. They will even mention this webinar, of course, as an impact story, and the government will reconsider their chance of wanting to close down the course. Do you see? And this is also what happens when students want to when a student see their JAMB result and realize that they have been studying library science. I usually get a lot of emails like that. I'm like, hey, hello, sir. I was giving library information, so I don't know anything about the course. And the reason why they are actually coming is because they feel that they can see an impact in what I'm actually doing. They can see an impact in what I'm actually doing. So it's important you tell your story. It is important you know what to measure yourself with. Even you, let me even take it back to personal thing. You are in your office, you want a promotion. Why should they give you a promotion? Is it because you spent 2 years that you should get a promotion? That is why I don't like, personally, I don't like working with government. I don't like working in a government parastatus because sometimes they feel so entitled. I've stayed 2 years in this library as a government staff, of course. Because I've stayed 2 years, the government should promote me. Like, why should we promote you? But if in the private sector, like where I work with, your impact, what have you done? Oh, I came into this organization. I was managing the social media handle. You guys have 5,000 followers. After 6 months of my impact in handling that particular platform, 5,000 converted to 10,000 followers. 1 year into the place, it has gone to like to 30,000 followers. I think that I need to be given a raise in this organization as a motivation to do more of what I'm doing. These are evidence. They have seen it. It moves. Oh, since I joined this organization or since I joined this library, things have changed. A has gone to B has gone to C. These are reasons, these are good reasons for you to get a raise. These are good reasons for you to get a promotion, not because you spend 2 years, 3 years. You might spend 5 years and no impact. No impact. The only thing that we hear is that you have spent 5 years, your work experience. That is the main reason your CV today, if you're writing a CV for an organization, there is what is required. They will ask you, after you put, let's say, librarian in University of Benin, underneath it, you need to tell us what you've done. You archived how many books? You book, you chef read how many books? You attend to a lot of persons. How, you need to talk about your impact. What have you done in that place? Let me go a little bit faster. Measure of impact. So for example, rather than reporting of how many library users attended the computer literacy class, impact data look at how many library users used their new skill to get a job. Do you understand? These are things that you look out for. Measuring impact allows public libraries or libraries in general to show how they contribute to measurable results like job skill development, education attained, employment found, money saved, and livelihood improved. Your library has been in that community. You have just been in the library. Have you thought about organizing something in that community as a form of impact? We have talked about makerspace many times, many times. What have you done with your library? And it's not just even the library itself. You as the librarian, what impact have you made? I am adding my own little value to Nigerian librarianship and in Africa. I am adding my value to it in the little way I've done. If you call me tomorrow to tell you my impact story, maybe I want to apply for a job in librarianship in any way, I will tell you. During COVID-19, we had a series of webinars to educate and reposition African librarians, not just Nigeria. I've had the opportunity of training student librarians in like more than 3 sessions in Africa, as it were. In debunking fake news and fighting fake news in Nigeria, the US Embassy invited me to speak, and I spoke to thousands of people. And that particular recording was used at the National Library, National Conference, the NLA National Conference in Abuja. Sometime last year, earlier this year, UNESCO invited me to speak because I was recommended by IFLA itself. I am one of the set of people that joined Library Advocacy Group in Nigeria. What am I saying? I'm not singing my praises. I'm talking about my impact. The number of people I've trained during the training that I had, the students I've trained, how many have converted it to something else? I can tell you the story of a lot of them that have converted to doing something with what I've taught them. They still call me, I still mentor them and all that. Impact, influence. What influence have your library done? You as a librarian, let's say we kept talking about library, oh, there's no funding. No, it's not about funding. It's not about, funding is important, don't get me wrong. It's not about funding, but if I give you the money, what can you do with it? What can you prove to me that it is working? It is working. What? I see people most times attend conferences and the next thing they are looking for is certificates. And the reason they are looking for certificates is because they want to get a promotion. I'm not saying certificate is wrong, it's important and all that. See, I have a lot of them, all those paper certificates. And the truth is that I've never used them to submit anywhere. Maybe because I don't work with the government. Maybe it is required in the government parastatals or so. They are important. I have NLA certificates that of conferences. I have leads like the library, the IT session of the library I've attended. While I was a student, I was attending conferences. Yes, I've attended a lot of them and obviously, but they are there. But what's useful is the certificate if I don't have the knowledge? What's useful? What's impact is the certificate? You want me to go and present a certificate that I don't have the knowledge about? Where I work, we don't even care about it. See, it's so shocking that when in my organization where I work present there, I did not even submit my university result or anything. And I'm doing a good job here, by the way, if I have to say it myself. So what impact are you making? What impact is your library and you as a librarian you're making online? Impact data by those advocacy, I think we've mentioned something like that. I said, okay, how to do it actually. So when you incorporate library impact into advocacy messages, number one, you can demonstrate the value that the public library provides to the community in terms that your audience will understand. I will say it again, in terms that your audience will understand. Number two, appeal to the priorities and the interests of the decision maker you want to reach. If a politician comes to you during this election period, the politician wants to show that he wants people to see that he's working. You want people to see that it's working. So you need to know how to fight your cause. Lobbying is a skill that librarians need to learn. Lobbying, it's not a crime. Lobbying is a skill that librarians need to learn. And this is one thing that even comes up with advocacy. As I will always say, the fact that something is right does not mean they would do it. They would do it. Appeal to the priorities and the interests of the decision makers you want to, the NGO you want to, appeal to their emotions. Appeal to their emotion. Oh, this community has a population of estimated 2 million people. Out of the 2 million people is populated with children. Poverty is so much in the community, which leads to crime. If you build a library here, we'll be able to train like over a period of people in a period of time, in a number of time. You see, this is how we talk. This is actually how we talk. You start hearing things like in a period of time, if we train a particular set of people, we're going to achieve a particular set of things. That is how we are supposed to talk as librarians. Not saying that, oh, please give me this because I am this, give me this because I am this. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. And this is not just a Nigerian thing, it's an African thing, because I've had the rare privilege of working with African librarians, and I see that these are issues that we have. So make the case for continued or increased funding. I was giving you 5,000 before for your library. Why do you need 10,000? Why do you, oh, the economy is bad, diesel has increased. That's a fair thing. Let me give you an instance. Sometimes early this year, my CEO came and said, oh, the economy is bad, that he felt the bag of rice had increased, blah, blah, blah. And he feels like since that has increased, fuel scarcity has increased, there should be an increase in salary for everybody. There's an impact of everything that is happening. So in your own, and that also of course, in your library, there's an impact. The fact that they increased diesel, right? The increased diesel means that it's going, because I remember those times when I was in the journalist library, there are times whereby you'll be reading, there will be no light. And they'll tell you that it's either they are managing diesel or something, or there's scarcity, so the university is managing diesel and all that. A student will be reading under the heat or something. And I was asking myself that, thinking about it now is like, okay, is there a way that you've communicated these things? Like, have you fight the cause? Have you make a case? Why should I increase your funding? Because it's the right thing to do. No. Why should I give you school fees? Because why should I give you money? Oh, damn it, why should I be here? Why did I take my time? See, it's very, very stressful, because this is election period and it's usually stressful for my organization. I work with a news agency in Nigeria, so you can imagine how it is. And now I took time to research this. I took time to create a slide. In fact, I didn't even have time. I had to outsource the slide to somebody. I paid someone, like, you know what? Just do this slide. I don't have time to do this slide. I send my document to the person, he created it. So why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? It's the impact I know this is going to bring to the larger audience. That is why I'm doing it. Why, when Library Aid contacted me to do this, why did I agree to do it? Will I just agree to do it because I have time or because I'm free? No. I am doing it because the impact is going to make to a larger audience. That is why we are doing what we're doing. And this is also the motivation behind Library Aid hosting this event. I said impact, continuation from that. I said step to collect impact data and incorporate it into your advocacy. Sure, of course, these are steps. Number one, determine what to measure by identifying the information that will be important to policy maker. I kept using policy maker and decision makers because, see, whoever is paying the money sometimes seems to be controlling the piper. So you need to know how to determine what to measure, what to look out for, So you can experiment. You can experiment and put some. Let me also give you another ideas. For those people that work with the library, right? You work in the library. You can decide to organize. You can decide to organize a soap making, because you think library is not just about book. There's a maker space actually. You decide to call somebody to come and make soap or somebody that knows how to do liquid soap or something for the local women in the community. And then you call them there and you introduce it to them. You're giving them a new idea of what a library really is, to get knowledge, basically. The knowledge can come from book, can come from any means, provided to get knowledge. So you organize like something like that for the community. People see it. Then you've created job for like 10 people that came for that stuff, for the training. 10 people have come in and they have gained knowledge on how to better their life. If 10 people come this and you need, see, that is the best way. That's one important way to sell your market, if I have to use the word you get. So you need to know what you want to measure. That is the first thing you need to do. You create a survey that will collect information for the indicator you've chosen. The indicator you've chosen, what you want to use to measure, you create a survey form. It might be Google form. For those of us that do research, in there, maybe write papers and all that, this should not be new to you. When you determine the measure you want to, the research questions, as it were, right? You create a survey, a questionnaire, per se, for people to know what to think. You administer the survey to a random sampling of people, right? That's where you're checking the impact. Now, if it is people, if you're working with people that came to your library too, they don't have computer skill. They started learning how to use a computer and all that. But you want to create a survey, there's a place you need to put and say, do you know how to use computer when you started? Can you now use computer? How effectively can you use computer? These are questions to ask. They will tick. And this way you are getting information. Or a question like, have you ever used this library before? When you use this library, what happened? Your experience. These are ways to collect data like that. When you collect all this data, then I talk about analyze and synthesize the data that is collected. Yeah, analyze it. And don't lie about your data. That's one thing I want to tell you. Don't lie about your data. I know people manipulate their research. You go to the field, what you're seeing is different from what the paper you want to write. Yes, and then you manipulate the data to reflect what you already have. And that is what they call research bias. You already have a bias. In fact, you're going on the field, you already have an expectation of result you want to see. So when you get to the field and something is different, you're a bit confused. Yeah. Number 5, examine the data to develop key messages and insights that will resonate with key audience. Examine the data. Once you've gotten the data and you now realize that, out of everything you distributed the container to 10 people, and out of the 10, like 9 of them used the library constantly, and they all did not know how to use the computer before, but now only 2 people knows how to use the computer. Will you say your impact has been strong? Maybe you want to contact those 2 people and understand if they really learned it from the library or they know it before. So you have to be truthful with your data, examine the data, develop key messages, and know how to sell your message. The last one I have here, use the data about the impact of the library services to persuade policies and decision makers. Yeah, I think that is all I have for us today. There are some resources here I consulted while researching for this. And of course, if you have any question, I am willing and available to answer. Thank you so much. My name still remains Victor. You can reach me on Twitter on the name you're seeing there at Victor Ejechi. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Victor, for this session. It was very insightful. So please, participants, if you have questions, now's the time to ask. So just raise your hand and Victor will call on you to ask your question. Okay, please raise your hand. Or you can type your questions in the chat box. If you also don't have questions, you can as well just type in the chat box and say, I don't have questions.
Yeah, so I guess there's no question. I want to believe it is well explanatory. And of course, even if you have questions for them, or maybe you're working in your library and there's something you want us to create a policy or how to fight you. Okay, I think there's a hand that is raised or something. Is there?
Yes, there's a hand raised.
Okay, please. Sarah Fida, right? If I don't, you just unmute yourself and ask, please.
Okay, good morning. Thank
Good
you
morning, ma'am.
I don't know, can you hear me?
Clearly, ma'am. Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Mr. Sharafuddin. Thank you very much for the presentation. It was very insightful. My question is, how do we, because as you said, funding is always scarce, but how do we leverage on the communities around libraries to kind of support the library system in Nigeria? So that's just my question.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I will give a practical example. While I was in Enugu, we did a research. Like in fact, I was 7. I was a copper. Myself and a lady. She wasn't a librarian, but she was just loving the library. We'll call them friend of the library. So we did a research we went on the 6th zonal library in Enugu. It cost money, of course. Somebody sponsored us. We had to, we got somebody that was ready to pay for us to do those trips and everything. Then I think it's like ISAF. There's an organization called ISAF. So we went there and we were able to see the libraries. And there was one particular library we saw in one community, and we asked them, is it government that built this library? They said, no, it's a community. Now, the community did something. They created a room, or they gave the librarians a room to organize it as a library so that the people in that community can use it. Now, how did they leverage that? I think I asked them those questions then. And there's one thing they told me the librarian told me rather, is that, of course, if there's one way to do that is you must be in touch with them. For instance, if you're a Yoruba person, you're in a community like that, they need to be sure that you are with them. They need to know that you are like them. They need to know that you have their interests at heart, because you need to gain the trust of these people first in the community. Now, sometimes creating the trust of these people, some of them are not so educated like you per se, but you see that language thing that you speak with them or communicate with them, or you have somebody that can speak the language with them, is one way to gain their trust. When they now know that the people that are saying this thing are my people. Now, when you do that, right, you now tell them stories, not lies, stories, impact stories of how people have used this particular thing called library, and they were able to remove them from poverty. Now, what I'm saying is I'm assuming the community is a community that is not well to do and they need survivor, because the truth is a community like that, all they want their children to do is to go and hawk and make money for feeding. So how do you want to take their children from doing that and bringing the children down to the library to study? The one way to do that is to tell them impact stories, tell them stories. You cannot go wrong with stories. If you strategically tell them stories of how people have used this library, and not lies, I keep emphasizing not lies, yeah, because if you tell them lies, they are going to be looking forward to your results. So if I'm giving you my child, you said you're telling me that if I give you my child for 3 months, the child will start using the computer effectively, right? If I do that, sorry to say this, I am a strong advocate of, before you even start asking for finance, have you made do of the little that you have? Have you made use of the little that you have? So if you have a small space, what have you done with the space before you can ask for a larger space? If you have like 2,000 now, what have you done with 2,000 now before you can ask for 5,000 now? Yeah, these are the things the community wants to see. And it's one way to do is to communicate this thing to them, use an example in the community, and one way to penetrate against partnership and collaboration. Partnership. These days, we have churches everywhere, in every community. If you want to penetrate a community, you can penetrate a community through the church, through the mosques, right? It's that easy. It can be that easy, rather. When you talk to, let's say, talk to the imam or something in the mosque, you tell them that, oh, this is the plan that you have. A lot of persons are going to benefit from it and all that and all that. See, the people in the community will sell your dream for you. They will sell the impact for you. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Don't get it twisted. You might get people coming back to fight you and thinking you have ulterior motive. You're right, because of trust deficits that is in the we will find ourselves into. But trust me, with time and consistency, you're going to get it. I will also give you this last impact story that I got is when we wanted to do, I was in school, I was in 300 level. Dr. Nkem Osoji, that is presently the director, contacted me and was saying that we should form a group called Library Advocacy Group. Library Advocacy Group, that the job is just to advocate for library. We formed it. It was a Facebook group, There's nothing we do. What we do is that we go there, different people. I was just the only student. Everybody are doctors, librarians, I was the youngest per se. But when they brought me into that conversation, we brainstorm about library and how to move the library forward. The next thing we'll do, we'll go on Twitter and we'll create a flyer. We have somebody that was using Canvas for free to create a flyer. What we're doing is that we'll create a flyer and then we have people that will do a tweet chat. We call it a tweet chat. People will tweet their thoughts. And these people that have been gathering together, they have not met together physically. So when it was close to the NLA conference, we picked, I think Dr. Nkem sponsored that thing. She picked an Ankara material and said, we have to look different from everybody there. We got there. People were like, oh, Library Advocacy Group, I want to join this group. I want to join the group. At the point we registered, we had a website. We registered the group. We get now at the point that if we wanted to get a grant, it would be easier. And guess what? We've done some little things. We've done training. Now, because we are all members of that community, whatever I am doing independently, I am doing it under the umbrella of the advocacy group. Whatever Dr. Nkem is doing, she's doing it under the umbrella of the advocacy group. So there's a lot of impact that we have made. What am I saying is I'm talking about collaborative effort and partnership can actually work. You might not have everything. There are many things that Dami, of course, that is the co-founder of Library Aid Africa, has called me for us to collaborate and partner. So I figure the first step is to look for the possibility of partnership or collaboration and also try to build the trust deficit that is, we all have that in our community to build that. I think that, I don't know if I answered your question, but please let me know if I did. Purity said, how best can we capture impact? So do you think we should create a database of impact stories? Yes, you can do that. You can create a database where people tell their stories, and sometimes you can decide to, if you, let's assume you have a library, and I feel like people should be doing that. I think I will introduce this to my university and some other universities that I know that I have the contact of the university librarians. I think I should do that. So if you I think I know some university librarians that have their contact. If you have the direct contact of some of them, there's something I want to share. So pick students in your library, right? Public, academic, or any form of library that you feel have been constantly using the library. Ask them if the library has impacted them since they gain admission into the university. Do a short video of them talking about their impact. Hear their impact story. Save it in your library. Do this continuously. You will have a lot of impact stories. Video, archive the video somewhere in your laptop. You will hear things like, oh, when I joined the library, I never liked using the library. I hated the library. I thought the library was like this. Then I joined. I couldn't, or you hear stories like, oh, my parents could not afford the book and everything. You can create different database. And remember me, database might not be in Google form. Database can just be a folder in your laptop that has all the videos of people talking. You might think it's not useful. You might not see the usefulness of it right now. What you're doing is that you're collating data, impact data. It might just be a joke. Why do you, when you want to leave your office, maybe you get a better offer and you're leaving, and people start talking about you. Oh, and Victor is a nice person. Victor did this, Victor did that, Victor did this. You know, when you're talking about that, they remind you, your impact is what they are reading back to you. Your impact in their life. So I want to urge you to do this. If you work in the library already, do it. Don't say they're not paying me for it. See, do it silently or with somebody, just pick some student that want to talk about their library experience. We call it the library story. That's what we did in school there. We call it the library stories. Come and share your library stories. Your library story. Now, that was one of the things we did with the library advocacy group. Don't come and share your library stories. Now, when you talk about your library story, I will archive it, do a short video. There's a lot of app that is free for you to join videos together. Do it together, send it to your university librarian and see if they will not tell you that you're creative. Send it to your investor and see if they will not tell you that you're thinking outside of the box. That is if you have a university librarian that is receptive of ideas. That is one way to sell your library. That is one way to tell your impact story. So in answering your question direct, you can take it, your story can come in video format. You can decide, you can tell them to write it out like a testimony in any form that you feel it's the best, depending on the kind of story that you want to get. I just hope I answered that correctly, to your satisfaction rather. So do we have any other question?
It's Sharafuddin again. Thank you very much. The answer was very helpful. As I'm like, I started the research around memory institutions, libraries, cultural institutions, museums, and so for the past couple of weeks, I've been visiting various institutions across Lagos to see the state of their archives and the state of their materials. So this session and the insight is very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that as well. Please keep me in the loop of your research. Yeah, you said what?
Sorry, there's a question in the chat box.
Okay. I think I've answered that. That's for purity, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I've answered that. I've answered that. Unless she's not satisfied, let me know. I've answered that.
Okay, so purity, does Victor answer your question to your satisfaction?
Is there any question from the Facebook? Oh, thank you, Purity. Is there any question from Facebook? I know we're streaming live on Facebook. If there is none, I think that's all from my end.
Okay. Are there any other further questions? Anyone can raise your hand. Okay. I also don't think there are questions from Facebook. But,
Okay.
yes. All right, then. Thank you so much, Victor, for this session. Apart from Twitter, though, is Twitter the only place they can connect with you?
Yeah, you can also just search my name, Victor Ejechi, on all platforms. On all platforms, it's fine. You can check me on Facebook, Victor Ejechi, but I'm more active on Twitter. But I know no different, like not every platform is for different purpose, so that is why. So but then you can check me on any platform. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. See you next time. Bye.